Welcome guys to my reaction video of the new 9.2 developer preview. This is something that me and the chat developed in terms of expectations for this video. So we haven't watched it. We're gonna watch it all together. My release date expectation February. Obviously new raid, double legendaries probably. Tazavesh dungeon turned into 2 mythic plus, pretty obvious. Cross faction play, big question mark. Maybe the Mythic Plus title is going to be the last faction rewarded is based on Alliance and Horde. Spec tier sets, and I say spec because we already have tier sets in terms of domination gear, but domination gear is just a really lazy way of incorporating tier sets. I don't think balance changes are going to be mentioned. New Courtier type zone, pretty obvious. New Mythic Plus season affix may be mentioned. More grind, like always, every single patch is gonna have some sort of grind, but please, 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 not make the grind like Courtier. Maybe new Soulbinds conduits, and maybe they're going to incorporate more time walking into the game because there's Legion Mythic Plus coming, there's maybe raids are going to be dropping item level gear that is appropriate for the current patch, we'll see. So let's go and get started. Let's go and get started, guys. Hype, 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 hype.
The Shadowlands story pulls together threads that started in Warcraft 3 and wove their way through many of our expansions. We approached it like a drama in 3 acts. Now, as the third and final act begins of the saga, we need to stop the jailer from reaching his ultimate goal, which is to rewrite the rules of reality. Eternity's End serves as the final chapter of one book of the Warcraft saga.
Eternity's End.
The jailer has the advantage. He has seized the sigils of the leaders of the Four Covenants.
We see Sylvanas realize that she's been a pawn in the jailer's game this entire time, and she refuses to serve him, and she's taken prisoner.
The jailer is able to open a portal to who knows where, taking Anduin with him.
And the Primus had us take some time to retrieve some new sigils.
Now we have gathered our forces. We are working with the Primus to open our own gateway to pursue the jailer to this realm unlike any we've seen before.
Zereth Mortis.
The Primus opens a portal, and we come into this alien land. It's completely white, foggy, we're walking on water for some reason.
They can only make out some shapes, some figures there, some crazy devices and consoles.
Eventually you make your way to a giant gate, and behind it lies Zereth Mortis.
Zereth Mortis was created by the first ones, and it is intended to create afterlives.
Think of it as being tucked away in the fabric of the Shadowlands itself. It's kind of the behind the scenes of these afterlives that we've journeyed to.
It's the land where the progenitors, the first ones who created all of the realms of the Shadowlands, this is their workshop.
They've created everything we've experienced in Azeroth and Shadowlands, and even realms we haven't discovered yet.
That's Courtier.
These first
2.0,
ones
right?
built the universe as far as we know, but their intentions or methods are completely unknown.
But of course, the jailer's presence here is disrupting this process. And we're working to push back against the jailer's forces and protect this place.
I think the artists have done a fantastic job.
Wait, just... Did they say this is final act? Did they say it's final act of the story? Or final act as in the final patch? I don't think a lot of people expect a 9.3, but I think... Okay.
And I know they did a lot of research, and they looked at a lot of real-life examples of very strange places in the real world.
As a team, we also have a progenitor chicken, which answers the question of what came first.
These first ones who
mount.
crafted Zereth Mortis, what they left behind were the Automa, meant to take care of the place and make sure that it fulfilled its function to create afterlives.
The Automa have several different classes, and you can see this in their silhouettes. We have the Builders, we have the Protectors, we have the Casters, and each one of them have a specific role within the Shadowlands. And then you'll also discover the Jiro, which are a part of the Automa. They're a little more quirky, they have a little more personality. They are a little more sentient than the other Automa, so some of them even split off to pursue their own desires.
Unfortunately, when we found our way in, Devourers also found their way in. They are ravenous.
They're consuming this weird energy, and it's causing them to mutate and to fall apart.
And the Automa, where they are confronted by them, some of them are fighting them off.
And so it's going to take some time for them to understand that we're here trying to help them drive out this threat.
So that's a new faction. That's also going to be the new
Fortunately,
grinding
we've got
faction.
some allies. There are some enlightened brokers here that we're going to be working with.
But it's a broker that arrived here quite a long time ago and has had a change of heart from looking at the world as a very transactional place to seeing this place as a holy place, a sacred place. We meet an enlightened one named Fareem, and Fareem needs our assistance, and in return, he leads us to Haven,
which is a hub that has been created out of progenitor ruins. And this is where the enlightened really have made their home.
Haven serves as our foothold here, as well as use it as a base of operations and really start unlocking the mysteries of this
The
land.
water is really cool.
The enlightened brokers are intent on protecting and preserving the work of the first ones here. But now they're seeing Zoval bring his forces against the Automa and tear up the land, and they are eager for assistance.
The brokers themselves are very ostentatious, they're very into materialism, but the enlightened are not that at all. They have relinquished this material way, and you'll see this reflected in their clothes. They're a little tattered, they're a little faded, because it just isn't important to them anymore. They're just here for the pursuit of knowledge.
When players arrive, they're kind of fishes out of water. And one of the first things that we have to do is start learning how to communicate with the Automa. Think of it as a kind of runic language, based in symbols.
We will bond with a small construct who's pretty cute, actually. And with his assistance and the assistance of Fareem, we will learn eventually how to understand the symbols through the cipher of the first ones.
We'll uncover different parts of this alphabet and start to learn more about the progenitors and Zereth Mortis itself.
It will allow you to unlock new and different forms of content. So that can range from daily quests to new options on the vendors to places to explore and new side quests that open up. So it's really the gateway to exploring the far reaches of Zereth Mortis.
As we looked into the development of Cipher of the First Ones, we wanted something that was unique that players haven't seen before. A little bit of familiarity, but something that takes that to the next level.
We really involved the whole team in this creative process. We worked with our UI team to be able to represent those through text, through these things talking and seeing them on screen in chat bubbles and in our chat window. Little by little, these kind of runes start taking shape into words that we recognize. But it's going to be a process that unfolds over the course of playing through Eternity's End. The Automa speak in this kind of musical language. They don't talk the way that we mortals are used to speaking. The sound team was super excited. They jumped in, they started prototyping all kinds of different sounds. We listened, we gave feedback. And we really ended up in a cool place. As you're playing through and gradually unlocking the language, you'll be able to see those words that they're saying, but still hear those tones.
Oh. So you start to understand them. The more you grind, the more of
The
nonsense
jailer's
that you
true
see
goal
is going to be
has
open.
never really been to escape the maw or to gain power. He's been focused on reaching this place called the Sepulcher, to go into this place of power and to really rewrite the rules of the universe. We'll learn that the jailer has breached the Sepulcher of the First Ones, and this becomes our new raid for Eternity's End. We're going to gather our forces, we're going to pursue the jailer inside. Once you go inside the Sepulcher, there's some mind-blowing visuals. This is a place that should not be able to exist according to the laws of physics as we know them on Azeroth. Just looking out into this impossible sky of seeing these ancient works of the First Ones, those laws don't apply to anything we see.
This looks like an insane open world type of raid. The only issue I have with open space raids is the FPS issues that it tends to cause. That's the only thing that I'm scared about. Historically speaking, open space and stuff like that, or like big indoors, that's the only thing, but it looks insane.
Be here.
Among the bosses that we're going to face in Sepulcher of the First Ones include the jailer's forces, maybe a dreadlord or two that you haven't tied up loose ends with. We'll face a consular. This is similar to a being like Algalon, but the jailer's gotten to it and has infused his domination magic into the consular. Before we get to the jailer, however, we need to get to Anduin first. Our hope is that we can learn whatever Anduin knows about domination magic. We need to be able to resist it, or better yet, fight it.
Cross-faction play. I was looking for Horde and Alliance.
We know players have been waiting a long time for the return of tier sets, and as devs, we have too.
It's a great blend of progenitor magic, golds, and metals, along with those class-defining silhouettes. Wolves for shamans, pointy things for rogues. It's going to look amazing.
Our class and combat team was super excited to bring class sets back. This is something that felt really right for the story. We're in the final act of the Shadowlands saga. We're here literally on the brink at eternity's end. And what better place to fully unleash the power of these classes? And I think players will really enjoy the return of those class sets just as much as the team enjoyed making them.
How do you make something that is mystical and magical and incomprehensible and yet understandable? I think we've done a good job of finding that line.
The team as a whole has been working so hard, and we are so excited to get this out for everyone.
We're gonna get new mounts, new pets.
A bit horrifying for me, but exciting for some is the fact that, some of the spider mounts can now fly. Who needs flying spiders? But that's also going to be some of the spider mounts.
Are you seeing this? This is Mimiron's head on steroids. This is Mimiron's head on steroids. I need this. I need this.
Mounts can now fly. Who needs flying spiders? But that's also going to be a cool thing for people.
We have updates to professions, to soulbinds, to conduits. There's a new dancing minigame in Darkmoon Fair.
I'm a story guy, so I'm super geeked about watching players kind of piece together those little lore tidbits. That's what excites me as well.
I'm really looking forward to Season 3 of Mythic Plus. Tazavesh is getting split into 2 dungeons. If you're a raider, if you chase Keystone Master, if you're an achievement collector, there's something for everyone to do in this.
Shadowlands is like the final chapter of one book of the Warcraft saga, and our team is already hard at work on the next stories to come. Can't talk about them quite yet, but when the time is right, we're going to be really excited to share them with you.
Not what I expected. Not exactly what I expected in terms of the video. I just didn't think it was going to be this lore heavy. And they basically crammed in the new features in the last 30 seconds. What do you think about the new zone? I think the new zone, I think it looks pretty. I think the art team, I think the sound team has been carrying World of Warcraft for a long time. I don't think you're going to have bad design. The tier sets look pretty cool. I think some of them were hit and miss, if I'm being honest with you. Some of the tier sets looked a bit weird, but I'm okay about the tier sets coming back. We had the domination gear, which was, again, was really lazy implementation, in my opinion. A really lazy implementation. But I didn't really... I thought the mount looked really, really, really cool. I thought the raid looked really, really cool. They didn't really add any crazy big announcements like the cross faction, which honestly, I think they're going to save the cross faction for the next expansion. They didn't really say a lot about the Mythic Plus affix, which is understandable. They probably haven't tested it yet. They went into the new zone a lot, which technically the new zone looks really nice and really cool. But is it gonna be Courtier 2.0 with an insane grind? I don't think so. I think Courtier was just like a tiny zone, a lot of it crammed into it. I think the new zone looks a lot better, a lot bigger. I think the new Ciphers looks kind of cool. From my understanding, the more you progress in the new zone, you start to understand the language, which is kind of cool. They haven't really done that before. They haven't really done that. The tier sets, honestly, the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is checking out the tier sets for each spec and seeing how that's going to impact PvP, Mythic Plus. Because the biggest disadvantage of tier sets, and I know people are going to agree with it, is the fact that if you're a raider, you get the tier sets and you're happy. But what happens if you only do Mythic Plus and you want to push Mythic Plus, but you need a tier set in order to push Mythic Plus? The same kind of thing is happening right now with Domination, but not as bad because the Domination sets are not available. So how, like, I want to see the tier sets. I want to see what each tier set does, how it works, because there's always winners and losers in tier sets. There's always classes that, like, for the people who played Legion, remember, like, Rest of Druid 2 set used to last for like an insane amount because it was such a good 2 set. I kind of liked it. I liked the video, but I expected a bit more concrete information about some of the systems in place, the grind. The new raid looks good. Tazavesh, of course, that came true. Cross faction didn't come true, so they're probably saving it for the next expansion. So generally, guys, just let me know how you feel about 9.2. It's early days. Keep your mind open. It's early days. The raid, in my opinion, looks really cool. The aesthetics of the raid looks really cool. It's very early days. There's going to be more stuff on PTR. We're going to be grinding PTR. We're going to be checking out stuff. We're going to be data mining and stuff, all that. And again, I think it's a positive way, but I kind of expected a bit more from the video, if I'm being completely honest.